Today, we're going to learn about our last of our 11 organ systems in the human body. And this one is the reproductive system. This will combine some learning from previous human organ systems that we've already learned about, but also from our genetics unit before. So it combines a lot of learning, which is why we're doing this one as our last one. So let's get started right away. If you look at this picture coming up on screen right now, you will see that the human reproductive system is a little different than all the other organ systems in that the male and the female have a completely different set of parts or organs. With every other organ system we've learned about, males and females are generally the same. Minor differences perhaps, but no major differences as we see here. The function of the reproductive system is to produce male gametes, a word we've heard before, and that male gamete is called the sperm, and female gametes, or the egg. And that sperm and egg, when come together, can produce young, which we call babies, so that the human species can survive. One of the characteristics of life is that all living things need to reproduce. And so this is a very fundamental part of a human body. Let's begin our look at the human body by looking at the male a little closer. The testicles is where those gametes, those sperm, are produced. Now, the sperm need to have a safe living environment for them. They're very small, they're very fragile, and they can only survive if they are in a proper habitat, if you will, and that is provided by a series of tubes as well as a liquid that they can live within that keep them with everything that they need to survive. The epididymis, the vas deferens, those are ducts that store and transport sperm. The prostate helps produce some of those fluids for the sperm to live within, and the seminal vesicle as well. And so once the sperm is ready to be used for reproduction, it would leave the male through the urethra. You've heard about the urethra from the urinary system. This tube or duct has two purposes, and one of those is for the transport of sperm. And that urethra, as we learned earlier, is located inside the penis. Now, the female has different organs, obviously. The gamete, in this case, is the egg. It is produced in the ovaries. There's two of them, a left and a right. And generally, one egg is produced per month. And then it is released from the ovary into the fallopian tubes. The fallopian tube is also a duct. In this case, it's used to transport the egg to the uterus. And in the fallopian tubes or the uterus, this is generally where the egg might meet a sperm, and that might create a fertilized egg. And a fertilized egg is then what can be what can develop into rather a baby. And that development will take place in the uterus. The uterus is a specialized organ designed to allow for a young baby to develop. It gets its nutrients, it gets its oxygen and so on through the walls of the uterus, and its waste products, of course, are then translocated into the female or into the mom, and so she is making a habitat or an environment for that baby to develop over 9 months. When it's time for birth to take place, that baby will then move through the cervix into the vagina and then out into the world. And those are the organs required for that. Now, the reproductive system works very closely with other systems. For example, the hormones. Much of this process is dictated by the male hormones, testosterone, or the female hormones, estrogen and progesterone, which we learned about in a previous organ system as well. And obviously, the circulatory system and oxygen and respiratory system, all these things. Every system has to work together in order for successful reproduction to take place. That is a quick overview of the reproductive system. And that brings us to our very last slide. We have now looked at all 11 of these human body systems